Ahead of the Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska, Ukraine's attacks on various facilities in Russia are increasing. Ukrainian forces struck a refinery in the Russian city of Volgograd overnight on August 14, causing powerful fires at the facility, Ukraine's general staff reported. The refinery processes over 15 million metric tons of oil every year, amounting to 5.6% of Russia's refining capacity, the military said. The Lukoil plant produces diesel, gasoline, and aviation fuel, crucial for Russian military logistics. The attack was carried out in cooperation between the unmanned systems forces, military intelligence, and other branches, the general staff said. Russian officials reported on an attack against the refinery earlier in the day. Volgograd Oblast Governor Andrei Bocharov said the strike caused an oil spill and fire on the premises. Satellite images have confirmed damage to the Oneka linear production and control station in the Bryansk region. This station is part of the Druzhba oil pipeline, which is designed to transport oil from Russia to Europe, writes Militarny. Satellite images were published by the Dnipro Osint Telegram channel. These photos show damage to the linear production and control station. There are large traces of fire near the booster pumping station. The station cannot function, Osinters reported. The publication noted that Oneka belongs to the holding company AK Transnefteprodukt. The oil pumping station is one of the key stations on the Druzhba main oil pipeline, the length of which is 5,500 kilometers. It is capable of pumping 60 million tons of raw materials per year. Russia's Belgorod region has once again been attacked by Ukrainian drones. The governor of the region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, announced this on his Telegram channel. The governor said that an administrative building was hit and that a car was set on fire as a result of the drone strike. The footage released by Gladkov shows a suicide drone hitting a car and burning it. 3 people were injured as a result of the drone attack. Several cultural institutions in the city of Belgorod, including a shopping center, have suspended their activities. Ukrainian drones also crashed into a roofs, damaging at least 10 apartments. Shot clarified that a drone of the armed forces of Ukraine crashed into the residential building, which was followed by an explosion. An explosion in the center of Rostov-on-Don occurred on August 14 amid a missile threat declared in the city. According to Shot, the preliminary cause of the explosion was an attack by a Ukrainian drone. The channel's authors learned that the strike hit a residential building, after which a cloud of smoke rose into the sky. Emergency services are working at the scene. Several apartment buildings in Rostov-on-Don were damaged as a result of a drone attack. Acting governor of the Rostov region of the Russian Federation Yuri Slyuser reported this. According to information from public groups, 50 people were evacuated from the house. According to eyewitnesses, the sound of a moped, typical of a UAV, was heard before the explosion.
Russia in 2025 continues its war against Ukraine, spending billions on its military while its reserves are dwindling. Meanwhile, the government is raising taxes and big companies like Aeroflot are barely staying afloat. In an interview with Glavred, economist Vitaly Shaporan explained why Russia has already essentially eaten up its reserves, how OPEC Plus sanctions will worsen the oil crisis in the Russian Federation, and why Russians are hiding taxes from the state. It is based on oil, the remaining reserves, and, thank God, on inertia. Economic processes have an inertial basis. The economy cannot collapse in one day. A sharp collapse is already a consequence of an acute crisis. The Russian economy had a certain margin of safety at the beginning of the invasion in 2022. Now it has come to an end. What we have been seeing since about the beginning of this year is that the war is financed by the deterioration of the internal situation in Russia. This raises questions among local elites and regional representatives of power who are elected there. If you read their local media, you will see that the situation is very complicated. Unfortunately, we only hear the echo of propaganda from the pro-Kremlin media, but even they periodically have truth that is simply impossible to hide. Because there are statistics that cannot be falsified, there are industry associations, from metallurgists to farmers, that tell the truth about the state of affairs in their areas. Therefore, when I hear positive assessments like everything is fine, taxes are growing and so on, I understand that this is achieved by selectively pulling out individual data from a negative series and their incorrect interpretation. He added, if you look at the dynamics of revenues, in June the Russians were unable to collect even 500 billion rubles from the resource tax on oil and gas. About 90% of this revenue is from oil, the rest is from gas, which now occupies a smaller share. It turned out that the prices for Russian oil rose to about $60 per barrel, but revenues in rubles with a more or less stable exchange rate did not increase, the expert said. People often ask, what about the official deficit of 3.8 trillion rubles? And you say that the hidden one is larger. How do they do it? It's simple. For example, the week before last, Kuzbass borrowed up to 10 billion rubles from Sovcombank and Sberbank. According to the budget rules of the Russian Federation, they should have applied to the federal government and received a budget loan of 3.5%, but they do not do this. Why? Because such a loan would be considered a budget deficit. And if they take a loan from state or commercial banks, this is not counted as a federal deficit because formally there are no budgetary relations and the banks finance the lack of funds. This is how they hide the real deficit, which is considerable. A similar situation is not only in Kuzbass, it has simply become a public example. He added, in this situation, people's dissatisfaction with the government is growing. It is even expected that protests will begin in Russia in the near future due to money issues.